Welcome back, everyone. I am Brian. You are Chords and Notes Nation. You have been invited into my living room to please have a seat. We have another raw, honest, and unedited music reaction for you today. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Greg MacGyver, from the lineage of MacGyver. You know who I'm talking about, those of you who are well versed in how to fix the world with bubblegum and duct tape. And that is exactly what you've been doing for the last couple of years, from what I understand.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to enjoy something brand new for you.
Of course. Of course.
Yes. So you have not heard of Rush.
No.
You have not heard of the song Xanadu.
I have not.
You have not heard of progressive rock.
I have not.
Why is that? Please explain.
So I have been fixing a lot, and so there isn't a lot of time left over for musical exploration. Unfortunately, I have not strayed into this facet of music, and as we were discussing before, that is unacceptable. And so we need to kind of explore this progressive rock. Can you kind of tell me about some of this progressive rock?
Well, ultimately, it's an element of surprise and change within music. Okay, so there's going to be anything and everything goes, and think of a quilt, different pieces, different images that are quilted together, hopefully in a contiguous fashion.
Right.
Some of the early progressive rock for me was a little bit kind of wonky.
Right.
But this band had made a connection with me very early on in my life. I first heard them in 1987. And from that point, there was no looking back. It was an absolute addiction, obsession. Now it's just more of a matured enthusiasm. But they are the standard by which I measure all other bands, because of their integrity, because of their kindness and their goodness, not only as musicians but as people. They exemplify everything that's missing in this world right now, as far as I'm concerned, on the human level. Okay, so this song is off of A Farewell to Kings, which was released in 1977. That album, oh my God, that's sandwiched between two monster albums, 2112 and Hemispheres. I think you're about to be exposed to something that is just gonna you're just gonna stop things for a while and immerse yourself. At least that's my hope.
I am very excited. I am very excited.
All right, so this is a true first listen. This is off of the Rush YouTube channel if you want to see the original. This is the original live performance video from that era. I don't know if they did it the same year, but we'll just say it's from 1977, the video is. And this was put up on the Rush YouTube channel 11 years ago. It has 12 million views. What else do we want to talk about? Nothing, because I think the music speaks for itself. The lighting on the television is probably going to be a little bit darker because of the whole lighting situation with the camera lens picking up a screen, and we don't want it all washed out. So if you do want to see the original, absolutely go to the Rush YouTube channel and find it. Otherwise, just sit here and enjoy and relax with us, and we're going to give you our response afterwards.
to seek the sacred river of, to walk the caves of light, to break my fast on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. I am now the whisper tales of immortality, but deepest mystery from an ancient book I took a clue. I scaled the frozen mountain tops of eastern lands unknown, dying and man alone, searching for the lost Xanadu. To stand within the pleasure dome decreed by Kubla Khan, to taste anew the fruits of life, the last immortal man, find the sacred river realm, walk the caves of light. Oh, I will die on honeydew and drink the milk of paradise. Oh, paradise. Held within the pleasure dome decreed by Kubla Khan, to taste my bitter triumph as a mad immortal man. Never more shall I return, escape these caves of light, for I have dined on honeydew and drunk the milk of paradise.
What? What a song! What is?
Yeah.
I'm trying to collect all my thoughts because I don't know. It's not often that you have a song that kind of takes you off guard, right? And that is exactly how I would describe this song. So you described it as a patchwork. I think you had mentioned it this genre as a patchwork in the way that it presents itself, like a quilt. It's a bunch
Like a
of
quilt, yeah.
Yes, it's a bunch of different styles and different approaches to music all blended into one. And I think this is a perfect example of that concept. I think that is a very good way of putting that.
You know, you have a lot of musical background, listening background in classical. And so you're familiar with how classical music works in movements, and that basic framework in true progressive rock, and now in this era that we're living in, progressive metal, which is fascinating because progressive metal music is based on the diatonic scale, rock music is based on the pentatonic scale.
Right.
Okay, so the roots of metal music come from classical. The roots of rock come from blues. Okay, It's two different styles. Okay, but these guys were known as basically the originators of progressive metal. Okay, even though they had a lot of that rock background.
Right.
Because one of the things with progressive music is it pushes the boundaries of the artist, the creative boundaries. And a lot of the themes are based around, in this case, literary themes, or science fiction themes, or fantasy themes. And so how do you, as an artist or a group of artists, how do you best convey the message of a story? And you think about stories have arcs and so on and so forth.
Right.
And you can do that musically through the employment of different dynamics.
Right.
A million different dynamics in this
Right.
song alone.
Right.
Okay, let alone let's go across a 40-year career.
Right.
Where they did not regurgitate anything. Okay, it was all.
And and I was gonna say, so to your point of it being an interpretation of literary or science fiction, because I was paying close attention to the music, to the lyrics, the music obviously, and it is trying to convey a story. It kept calling to mind, the near ubiquitous Stairway to Heaven, that storytelling within music, and it made me think not only of classical music, something that I really enjoyed, but of antiquity music, of what music kind of started as poetry set to an instrument.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think back to that, and especially just the way in which they employed the instruments to kind of buoy the lyrics. I enjoyed the way that they played with dynamics, like what you were saying.
Yeah,
I enjoyed how they employed that.
Absolutely. And that's their musical start. Their very first album, which had a different drummer on it, and then Neil Peart came in and for 40 years was their drummer and primary lyricist, and then he was getting to the point where physically it was too demanding because his style of playing is very physical.
Yes.
And he's doing it in the band for 40 years, but in his life for 50 some odd years.
Yes.
He was ready to hang it up. And unfortunately, shortly after he hung it up, he was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, and that took him away from us. Lot of sadness there, especially because he had gone through his own tragedies in the late '90s with his daughter dying in a car crash on her way to college, and then his wife at the time, 18 months later, died. The doctors said it was cancer, but he said it was from a broken heart because she never recovered from losing the daughter.
Right.
And then he went on his journey, and an excellent book, Ghost Rider, where he took his motorcycle ride 55,000 miles from Quebec to Alaska, down all the way into Belize, and back. He was about ready to call it quits.
Right.
But that is what brought him back. He wound up finding a new wife, and they wound up having a daughter. And unfortunately, I think she was 11 at the time when she lost her dad. So very, very tragic thing. So a little bit there, but he's very, very intelligent human being who was very his lyric writing. Like early on, when they were deciding, like when they won their battle against the record companies, and the record company said, "Listen, you didn't do what we wanted you to do, but you wound up going platinum because the people are listening to you. From here, it's hands off. You guys do whatever you want." Okay, that to me is the biggest inspiration.
Satisfying.
And it's, yes, the little guy won.
Yes.
And became the big guy and influenced so many other people in many different facets of life, not just musically.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We've discussed this off camera about this woven thread that music has through our lives, what it can do
Right.
for us.
Right.
And I know I got a little off topic, but this is first everything for you. So I'm trying to sort of funnel this into what makes sense in the moment. Mm-hmm. So you have a story like Xanadu, which is basically, I don't want to call it a fable, but it's a story of, they made reference to Kublai Khan, okay? So this dome, this mysterious place where you go into and you eat honeydew and whatnot, and you will gain immortality. The price of that is you can never leave that spot. Once you leave it, you die. And so the story is, the guy goes in search of it, he finds it, he tastes paradise, but then he realizes it's a prison.
Take it with you, right?
That's why the lyric said, prison of the lost Xanadu. At one point he sang.
Right.
And so now you have that theme and that concept. You have to think about, what is the price of this? Immortality.
Right.
But guess what? You're stuck in this place forever.
Yeah. And you know that hearing it explained is really helpful. And again, it brings me back to my point of, this song was so emblematic of those early storytelling traditions. I'm thinking back to like Greek tradition with the lyre. That just reminds me of Orpheus and Eurydice, that idea of traveling to the underworld and not being able to come back out.
Right.
It's really cool to see that brought through music thousands of years, over thousands of years, and the most recent example here today is
and it puts it in motion.
Yes.
It's not just a static thought. It gives it life.
Right.
And it gives it motion. Now, here's what I love about it, that they've always been a trio. And I pointed out, he was playing the keyboard with his feet too, right?
Yes.
So when they started, like, in the 80s is when they started going with more synth and more electronic triggers. All three of them would have, Neil Peart on his drum kit, he started incorporating the electronic drum kit, right? And he would have triggers on there to trigger certain sounds to coordinate with the soundscape that they wanted within the composition.
Right.
So Geddy Lee, who is the vocalist, bass player, and keyboard player, he had the keyboards, the foot pedals, not just distortion pedals and all that, right?
So this can't
he had the foot pedals on the ground. Alex Lifeson, the guitar player, also has those too, so that when they need the keyboards triggered or to play it, if you notice, the layout is much like a piano, where you have the black keys and the white keys. So you literally are playing it with. Now, here's one thing I want to be able to show people that I've noticed many. So there's your keyboards, right? There's your, just like a piano, okay? But at the very end, a lot of reactors miss this, and I'm sorry, it pisses me off, because it's like, you got to give these guys props, okay? So they decided early on they weren't going to bring any other musicians into the band when they wanted to expand their sound, because they loved the idea of them being a trio. They were best friends, okay? And they always felt like nobody should be ganging up on anyone else. They were always open to exploring different music, hey, you're into this kind of music, you want to bring it into our band, fine, let's do it.
Right.
We'll make space for you.
Right.
But the talent level, so here's Getty with his double neck, bass, okay, bass and 6-string guitar,
Right.
keyboards, vocals. How many instruments is he playing? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So right at the end, I think a lot of reactors think this is just a double neck bass. This is a 6-string guitar. So what's happening here is he starts laying down the harmonics, the harmonic structure on the guitar, while Alex is playing the lead, and you still hear the bass, which has been programmed into the keyboards, and he's playing the bass with his feet. Watch his leg. Now it's a recorded bass, but it still has to be triggered.
Right.
Okay, so watch his legs especially. Challenging the human mind to do all of that live.
Right.
Like, you can do this in the studio, no problem.
Right.
But their biggest challenge was, if we're going to do it in the studio, we need to, as a trio, be able to reproduce that sound on stage.
Yeah.
The way that our fans hear it on the album.
Right. Yeah.
Level of respect, just when I first...
Right, and I played guitar through high school and a little bit into college, and then, life and fixing things got in the way. But my guitar teacher had always said, if you're going to play solo, it is best to play like two poor musicians, because then it's a fuller sound. It's not perfect chords, and it's not perfect soloing, but it creates a full experience. And so, to your point, that is insane. The idea of playing 5 instruments alone and then having 3 men do the same thing on stage, it must have been an explosion of sound to hear in person.
Yeah.
If it's already conveying that through
Right.
our means here.
Yeah.
It's exceptional. It's
All right.
exceptional.
There you go. There you go. Good. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This has been a long enough video, but I hope you are enjoying it. He's got enough time, I think, for another one. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what we can cook up for you. But are you gonna be a returning guest?
Of course.
Okay, there you go. So you guys let us know what you think. Give him some love for saving the world and fixing things that we can't do. It's awesome. It's amazing. Thank you so much for being here for this one.
Of course. Thank
God bless you guys. Jesus loves you. Anything you want to say?
Take care.
There it is. See ya.